welcome to episode 11 of the Prolific Shift Sunday Sit Down. I am Janae Peters, and I'm the founder, CEO, and all those other good things of Prolific Shifts. At Prolific Shifts, we're shifting always and in all ways. What I say every week continues to be true. This is a space that's for everyone, anyone who's interested in a shift. The main space of Prolific Shifts, the cohort space, is getting started. And that space is for Black educators and Black leaders to engage in personal and professional development in ways that our environments were not designed to support us in. And so engaging collective care to support ourselves in those processes. So welcome to another week of a question and action item that I'm offering in this space for you all and for me. And let's get going. So we are really into my favorite month of the year now because it's my birthday month. It's Virgo season. I believe the third week of Virgo season. I've got about 2 weeks before my birthday when I turned 33 years old. Jesus year, hope it's not the year I'm crucified, but hope it's a good year nonetheless. And looking forward to that time in this space. So this month, I'm really thinking of the questions I need to answer and I need to hear. So you get to share in that work with me. And this week's question is a next layer of a question I asked about a month ago, but I think it's a more specific access point for the kind of thinking that I hope we engage in this week and actually for the next month or so. So bear with me. So this week's question asks, what has shifted in your perspective in this past year? And what do you think precipitated those shifts? And what are you seeing more clearly these days than you were maybe about a year or two ago? So this question, I think it's coming from a place of the conditions that we are living in and hopefully through right now, right? This pandemic. So a lot has shifted for a lot of folks. A lot has become clearer. There's just a lot happening. Like there's not a day in the news where there's not something happening, something big, whether that's intellectually big or scientifically big or emotionally, interpersonally, weather-wise, right? So we have a lot of big things happening. And because of what this has led to for us, a lot of us are experiencing shifts in our career, shifts in our decision-making processes, shifts in our relationships. And I am curious about who we are as we continue through these wild times. And I know it's kind of a cop-out to call them wild times, but this pandemic, right? Like through the destruction on so many levels, and the division on so many levels, and also like the lack of respite, right, for a lot of folks. But what has shifted for us? When I think about this question in particular, I start to think about, I was really searching for the sort of positives. So I'll be honest about that. I wasn't searching for the negative shifts, but I'll try to engage in each of those briefly. The positive part for me is I think that one of the things that has shifted for me the most this year is that I'm stepping into my power in a way that I think I walked in power, but I'm stepping in it, right? Like I'm putting on the boots, raising them up, going through the mud and trying to make moves and change in a way that I think before I tried to have more patience around. Like I tried to not dive into the urgency that I sometimes feel around the way that systems, relationships, people need to change. And I think part of that for me, what prompted that was having the time and space to be identifying what I was feeling and what I was needing. And beyond the time and space, honestly, for me, it was the intention. Like I decided early on in this time and space when we had the time to get to know the parts of me that I was kind of running from. And I think I've said in other videos that for me, like that's that emotional, that feeling piece, the part that instead of asking for the care I needed, just kind of hardened. But I think that diving into those parts of me released something, or is releasing, I'll say, because it's not finished by any stretch, but I think it is releasing something different and allowing me to be strategic, and also to dream big about where I can make impact. Like I am not in a space where I'm questioning impact. It's a matter for me of where and when. And that has been a big shift for me. And when I think of a more, or I'll say a less positive shift, it's that I'm a person who has always valued being able to kind of follow my interests. Like I get interested in a lot of things. Like I love picking things up. Like I picked up the bass out of nowhere for 2 years and then like now I haven't played in 4 months. I'm going to play today though. That's why I'm saying this on this video. But even besides that, I think that the way the world has shifted, I think for some folks it's lent to a space where you can do multiple things. But I found myself actually needing to focus differently. Like I cannot do all the things. Like there's not enough time in the day. And one shift that I've had related to that, just like trying to be okay with that. If I teach all day, I can't come home and be a good partner. Can't come home and clean things up or make dinner and play the bass and work on my business and do all these things. And that realization is a really tough one for me because it's forcing me to prioritize in ways that before I didn't really think about. But I guess when you're in relationship and someone mirrors and reflects that to you, but also when you have a little more time and space to engage your own life, I'm just like, oh, okay. So I can't do everything I want to do, or at least not all the time, right? And maybe there's a season for things, but that's a shift that's occurred in me. Whereas I guess one way to summarize that is the way that I've prioritized things has shifted. And in choosing people, there are some other things that I just need to take care of. And when I think about that question about what's becoming clearer to me these days, I think as a result of this pandemic, it's become clearer to me that where I put my energy matters. And that there's not a lot of time, right? In our lives, like in our days, like there's both a lot of time, like you can get a lot accomplished. But there's not time, I guess, to waste. If my time is not being put to use, I want that time to be dream space, to be resting, like to be doing the things that help me to recharge, which means that for the active time, for the productive time, the times where we're complicit and participating in capitalism, those things I think need to have a more finite space. Like they have to have a limit in a way that I didn't limit them before. And so this is a struggle for me. And this is something that I'm working on. So as you move through your week, really remember that question of what has shifted in your perspective in the past year and what specific factors prompted that can be both positive, negative, and somewhere in between, right? So it could be value neutral too. It could just be a shift, but work to identify those and to articulate a statement about what has become clearer to you these days. The action item this week is not quite that, but it's tagging onto that. So it's asking you to rank your shifts by order of importance. So say you identify about 5 things that have shifted for you, to rank those by order of importance, and then categorize them into shifts that were initiated by you and shifts that were initiated by forces outside of your control. So whether that's other people, the system, the conditions, whatever that is, categorize those shifts. And then take a moment to work with the ones that you did not initiate, and think about which of those shifts you want to stay and which of them you want to counter. All right. So when you identify the ones that you want to counter, then identify one action item that you could take this week to counter a shift that doesn't serve you. So for the ones that I offered, the pieces of me that feel like I'm being more strategic about where I can make impact, like that's initiated by me in large part. And, I kind of want that to stay. For the things that are initiated by forces outside of my control, those are the things that I kind of want to tighten up. And so when I think of one that I really want to counter, it's the one that gets home and feels like there's nothing else to be done at home. So I want to counter that. And I'm going to be working to identify one action item I can take on this week that counters that and shifts it to a different place in my space. And remember, at Prolific Shifts, we're shifting always and in all ways. Each day, each hour really is an opportunity to decide to change something, to decide to shift. We're not locked in, and that's the spirit with which we're moving forward. Really grateful for you all listening to another Sunday Sit Down, and looking forward to connecting again next week. As always, if you are looking for thought partnership, I'm always happy to engage. But let me know what what has shifted and what you all want to stay and what you all need to go. All right, take good care. Peace. If you liked anything you heard, please don't hesitate to comment, like, subscribe, or support in any of these ways, and especially through your love and care. Peace, and I'll see y'all again soon.